sweep it is. How we doing, everybody? It's Wardy here, and we're back at it with our latest live edition of our New York Metropolitan post-game show presented by our awesome friends at SeatGeek and BetUS. And today, we have to break down what was nothing short of an amazing Metropolitan victory here for the Mets by a final score, a whopping final score of 13-5. Pull out the Oprah Winfrey card, because you get a home run, you get a home run, you get a home run, you get a home run. The Mets had not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 home runs on the day, and they took full advantage of the rock-bottom Rockies there in Denver. We have a lot of breakdown in this one, folks, as not only are we going to get into everything that transpired in this inning, ball game, inning by inning, 1 through 9, as we always do for our post-game shows. We're going to see your live reactions in the comments in the chat as we're going to react along with them, and of course, answer plenty throughout the course of our live show today, folks. And all of our replay viewers, I want to see the W spam in the chat down below, as well as the brooms, everybody. Spam those brooms. That is what your guy Wardy wants to see today. Spam them right here, right now. The Mets are back to being 4.5 up there on the Philadelphia Phillies for first place in the National League East. They are now 18 games above 500. Polar Bear bombs not one but two. Jeff McHits more like Jeff McBOMBS himself. Brett Bonds Beatty is back. Ronnie Mauricio looks like an absolute stud muffin early on. You got Tyler Megill giving you 5 strong innings. Paul Blackburn with the 4-inning save. Yes, you heard that correctly. Even though I know it's not technically a save, maybe it is. You guys can let me know in the chat. I have so many fun stats to relay to each and every one of you right now, folks. But what we need to do right now is to react together. Spam the brooms, everybody. That is what I want to see in the chat right here, right now. To all of our replay viewers, the same applies in the comments down below, folks, because we have to break down what was nothing short of an amazing victory. And as you guys can see right here, right now, I want you to start to ponder in your brain and let it start to marinate. What would you grade Tyler Megill on a final line score of 1 through 10? We're going to break down more about Megill in his game later on in today's show. We're also going to get into what we liked and didn't like from Paul Blackburn out there in Denver against these Rockies, and what was a 4-inning outing allowing 3 earned runs. On the offensive end, this is how the ball game ended for the Mets offensively. Lindor did get the start today at shortstop. Acuna came in towards the end after the Mets were up by 10+ runs or so. A lot to love. Look at the amount of 3-hit games for the New York Metropolitans here. Soto, Alonso, McNeil, Alvarez too. Can't forget the ding-dong right towards the end of the ball game. Alvy going 450 dead center. Oh, baby, you gotta feel good. Brett Bonds Beatty with the home run accolades. Tyrone Taylor getting in the same way he has all season long. Tyrone Taylor's been one of the most clutch and one of the most slept-on players for the Mets all season long. No doubt about that, everybody. So again, guys, spam that like and subscribe buttons. You guys chime in. Let me see those initial reactions. Let's see the hype in the chat. Let's see those brooms span. And as always, we gotta let it rip as we always do with the one, the only, the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. Sweep edition, baby. Let's effing do this. And now, bear in mind, I'm gonna go ahead and act like I'm sweeping, because let's effing go Mets, baby. Let's do this. Let's go. Shout out to my guys Greg and Jordan, as always, with the official WardyNYM post-game jingle. Thank you guys so much for spamming all the W's, the likes, the subscriptions, as you guys first chime in. Also, shout out to my guy in the chat, Frank Sessa, bombs away with the $2 holla. Thank you kindly for that. I really appreciate it. And shout out to our amazing sponsor that many of you guys know plenty well, but in case you don't know, let me enlighten you at SeatGeek that has you covered with all of your ticketing needs, everybody. Head over to SeatGeek down below by utilizing our link in the description description to get 10% off your next ticket purchase, Wardy10. But the reason why you guys got to utilize SeatGeek is not only do they have over 70,000 active events to choose from, making them the #1 rated ticketing app in the game today for a reason, folks. But why I love SeatGeek so much and why you probably like utilizing them as well is what has separated themselves from the rest. And you see with their app, the grading scale system, red to green, 1 to 10. If it's more than 1 through 5 range in the red, it's not a good bang for your buck there for a ticket. If you want more in the 7 through 10 range and the green, that's a great bang for your buck there, and you should see tickets there in the SeatGeek app, everybody. So whether it's Mets tickets to save some money, whether it's concert tickets, comedy show tickets, you name it, SeatGeek has you covered, everybody. So if you haven't already, please make sure to check out our awesome friends at SeatGeek that have you covered with everything on the ticketing front. Click that link down below, head over and utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. And shout out to our great friends here at SeatGeek for being an amazing sponsor here on the platform. Now, folks, let's hop back in this. And like I said, I want to see those W's spam. I want to see those jingles go. And I love the hype of the jingle as well. And I most certainly want to see those brooms spin the chat right here, right now. Because, guys, I'm not going to lie, Wardy's getting a little too giddy. I understand it's a sweep against the Colorado Rockies. It's important context that you beat up on the Colorado Rockies. But listen, the Mets need to take advantage of the opportunities given them. And the Mets just series swept for the entire season the Colorado Rockies in every 6 game that they played against them. 6 games in, out, and out of Brom, 3 at home, 3 out on the road in Denver, and no better way to end this series than by kicking the teeth in on the sorry Colorado Rockies, the way that this Mets team certainly needed to in this matchup. A lot to love on the offensive end. I'd say that's an understatement right now as we're about to break down and evaluate a Metropolitan victory where the Mets out-hit the Rockies today 17-10, and the Mets with runners in scoring position in today's matchup, everybody, were 5 for 13. So baby steps in the right direction on heading with runners in scoring position. I'm not going to nitpick too much today when they score a whopping 13 effing runs, right? And they left 9 on base. How we doing? Carla, great member in the chat. Bobby G, great member. How we doing? Brogan Jester, great member. Mario, how we doing? Great member. JTB, great member, going up the list here. Chad O'Neill, great member. Lounge, how we doing? Great member. Killa, how we doing? D-Rails, how we doing? Steve Lawn, great member, going up the list here even more. We got Scott Sandler, how we doing? G Money Stacks, great member, how are you? Frank Vasallo, great member, thank you for chopping in. Victor, Kevin Reese, Sway, Broken Chester, great member. Bobby G, great member, if I didn't say him already. Eric Roper, how we doing? Scott Sandler, Michael Valenti, how are you? Eric Hara, how we doing? Rudy, how are you? Nico and Nika Batista, love you guys. Caleb's in the chat. Eli Love is in the chat. Julia Hawkins, great members in here. Bill's Territory's in here, great member. Jorge M is in the chat as well. We got Rodolfo, let's see, I'm gonna butcher the last name. I'm gonna butcher the first name. We're going with the last name instead. Regalado, how we doing? David Sean, how we doing? Thank you for chopping in. Sway, how are you? D-Rails, my friend, thank you so much for chopping in. Dave Capwood's great member. Zinger, great member, going down the list. Let's see the donations here. We got Patrick with a $5 holla. Patrick says, Soto's clearly not happy going 6 for 6 according to Michael K. Clearly Juan Soto's miserable, and obviously we shouldn't bat an eye, or we shouldn't care how Juan Soto feels. We have to care what is the third-party information that Michael K's relayed, because clearly that is the end-all be-all. Stephen A., I love you, my man. Thank you so much for chiming in. I hope you and your family are fantastic. Daniel Denny with the $2 holla in the chat states the following: Soto is mad at going 3 for 3, says Michael K. You guys are killing me with a Michael K quote. Seriously, listen, the Atlanta Braves lost yet again. They got curb stomped all weekend long. The Braves, I think, have lost, 7 straight games, if I'm not mistaken. The Phillies have lost 9 other past 10. Everybody that we want the Mets to lose right now is, in fact, losing. So you got to be feeling pretty darn good about that. Now, folks, listen to the following statistics I need to relay to you guys, because there is so many great takeaways from today's ball game, and no better way than to kickstart this post-game show by deep diving these key fun statistics before we actually get into the ball game itself, inning by inning. Aaron, who's been a great member of 2 months, says, let's go, baby. Absolutely love to see it. Wardy, how do I donate to the chat? Estes, in order to donate, you go to the chat as you're chatting right now, and you click the plus button. There should be an icon that has a dollar symbol, and that dollar symbol, it gives you the ability to donate. Please know that I'm never asking anyone for donations. They're always appreciated, however, so if you do donate anything, thank you so much in advance for doing that. But please know that it's not needed. It's just something that is always appreciated. So I just want to clarify that. Ryan, great member of 11 months. Shout out to Miss Ryan listening in. Love you. Oh, love to see that. We got Ryan and the missus in the chat right now. Happy to have you beauties chiming in right now for our latest post-game show, guys. Thank you so much for doing that, because, guys, listen to the following stats. These are some fun ones. Not only did Jeff McNeil have 1 home run, but he had 2 ding-dongs today. And because of that, Jeff McNeil now had his 3rd ever multi-home run game that we saw today. The Mets hit 6 home runs, swept the Rockies in all 6 games against them this season, and 4 of the 6 home runs that we've seen Jeff McNeil hit this year have been against the Colorado Rockies, hilariously enough. Alonso not only, and actually we'll talk more on Alonso later on here, Juan Soto reached base 6 times today. You guys want to know why that's significant? The obvious is that Juan Soto got on base 6 times today, so that alone is very significant, but let's add in the other factor as to why it's so significant. Juan Soto has never gotten on base 6 times in his major league career. That is a career first for Juan Soto, everybody. And this is the 2nd game in this series in a 3-game set in Colorado against the Rockies, where Juan Soto also recorded 3 hits or more. So not only did Juan Soto have 2 out of 3 games in this series with 3 hits, but he got on base 6 times for the first time ever in his career. So I'm going to go on a limb and say that Juan Soto isn't too upset and doesn't have his panties in a twist, pardon my French, folks, for being on the Mets and now actually having new highs that he has otherwise had on previous teams. Who would have thought? It's almost like Juan Soto's only 26, has a lot more baseball to give. Same deal with Ronnie Mauricio. You guys know how much I love Ronnie. Estes, thank you so much for that donation. That's very kind of you, my friend. It really doesn't mean a lot. Happy to have you in here. Estes, let's get some hype in the chat for our guy Estes in here. Mario with the $5 donation states the following. Michael K is going to be at La E or F at Citi Field on Thursday. Oh, I know. And if I am somehow, some way in attendance for Thursday's game, we'll see what happens. Maybe Wardy will have to have himself mic'd up and kind of ask him just some straightforward questions. What makes him think he's on such a high horse just because he's been calling the Yankees for 3 decades? That's a great thing to flex, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're a saint or that you're right with everything else. So stop acting like such an ass. I mean, hard to comprehend for Michael, and I understand. It's hard to get through that thick skull of his, that long, narrow, thick skull of his. But that line is gonna have his tail between his legs after what these fleas say. Oh, I know. He's gonna get booed. He's gonna get tomatoes thrown at him. Like, you know, what is this? Like a 1930s comedy act? Like, that's what I'm envisioning right now. Estes, thank you so much for the $5 holla. I appreciate that a lot. Shout out to my guy Jacob Pickney and John as well in the chat. We appreciate you guys as always. And I always say Pickney, but I know was it Piccini? I always butcher your guys' last name, and I'm such an ass for that, because Jacob's been an amazing editor here, and I apologize for that. But again, thank you guys chiming in. Now, folks, let's break down a couple more of these stats before we get into this ball game that I really want to relay here. Juan Soto also became the first Mets player to reach base 6 times in a game since Pete Alonso back on August 15th of his rookie season in 2019, folks. And Juan Soto also, everybody, we saw there, became just the 3 New York hitters in baseball history with a game that included 3 singles, 3 runs scored, and 3 walks. It's Snuffy, Sternwise, Whitey Lockman, and Juan Soto. Again, Juan Soto is just the 3rd New York batter ever to have 3 singles, 3 runs scored, and 3 walks in a game. Snuffy, Sternwise, Whitey Lockman, and Juan Soto are your top 3 on that list. Furthermore, Juan Soto becomes the 3rd player in Mets history with at least 3 hits, 3 runs scored, and 3 walks, now in the same class as Lenny Randle and Carl Everett. Pretty darn cool if you ask me. So yeah, Juan Soto continuing to make history for this Mets team. Not only is he making history by making a record-breaking contract becoming a reality at $765 million, but Juan Soto now with his biggest game ever now as a New York Mets, 6 times on base. Didn't have the home run accolades the way that it felt like everyone else in the mother in today's lineup did today, but certainly was effective to say the least. So thank you guys again for smashing that like and subscribe on as you first chime in. We're breaking down our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show, the #1 post-game show for all things Mets here on YouTube. And thank you guys so much for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in, folks. One final thing from your guy Wardy. I'm not going to beat this drum too much. I'm just going to relay it here for a second, and then we will break down this ball game. And there is great reason for it, everybody. So let me just pull it up once more. Give me 1 second to do exactly that, because I'm just a smidge behind, not crazy behind. I just want to grab one quick thing, and then I want to show you guys the following. And then that is pretty much that, folks. Let's see how far I put this, because I'm a dummy. All right, guys. Head over here. As you guys can see, Wardy Day is officially happening, everybody. In case you guys don't know Wardy Day, you know now. We announced this with the pre-sale going back to spring training and then unraveled the tickets over this past month or so. But Wardy Day is official, everybody. And for the first time ever, you can hang out with your guy Wardy at Citi Field for an entire ball game. August 1st, the day after the MLB trade deadline, everybody, you and select Mets fans who were lucky and fortunate enough to be able to purchase tickets while they're still out there. We only have a limited supply left because we've already had a good contingent of fans buy in with their pre-sale over the past 2 months, as well as people who have seen the tickets since the rollout over this past month, especially, folks. But Wardy Day at Citi Field, Mets Giants are going to hang out with your guy Wardy. Pre-game, we're going to be on the field getting pre-game access on the Wardy track to take a group photo together, as well as a roughly $20 ticket voucher right in the left field lounge, right next to an awesome bar that they have there. They are not normal standard seating that you get across the ballpark. They're actually nicer seats there because they're lounge seats in the lounge setting there in the left field lounge. You guys are going to be hanging out with your guy Wardy. I'm going to be roaming around the seats throughout the entire ball game, interacting with you guys throughout the entire ball game, and we'll be probably doing a live show together there at Citi Field itself, further promoting our Wardy Day. We're awaiting details on if we're going to be doing a pregame show and the tailgate as like a parking lot thing, so I'll keep you guys updated on that. But I would love to see you guys get involved with your guy Wardy at Wardy Day. Should you guys have interest, click the link down below in the description for Wardy Day tickets that are still available. Again, we have a limited supply still available. We don't have just as many tickets as we were first given by the Mets. We're already at least 20 to 30 tickets in, so if you guys would like to have interest in something like this, click the link down below. Thank you so much again. I'm so excited to hang out with you guys at Citi Field. I've done it in the past with just one-offs with fans at times, but this is the first time we're truly getting together for a formal group outing at Citi Field. If the Mets are going to make sure that we have ourselves an awesome time and hopefully see Metropolitan victory with maybe some new Mets on the squad after the trade deadline from the day prior that we'll be covering on the platform all day long there that we're going to see on July 31st. But hopping back into this, Steve, thank you so much for the $5 holla. Snuffy, those batting lessons from Keith paid off. Didn't know he played for the Mets when he wasn't on Sesame Street. Thank you so much for the donation, Steve. I appreciate that. That was a great donation and great joke. Let's see. And again, thank you guys so much again for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in. Let's now get back to breaking down this ball game. And thank you so much to everyone that feels the need or is interested in checking out our Wardy Day. Again, that is August 1st. Link down below the description for you guys to check out at your leisure. And thank you kindly for doing exactly that. Because now, everybody, let's break down this ball game. And let me get more hyped up about Ronnie Mauricio. Ronnie's looking good. That makes me really happy. Brett Baty did Brett Baty things. And there were some fans I saw entering today's game saying, uh-oh, Brett Baty doesn't have a hit lately. Should we be concerned? And I'm like, listen, Brett Baty's going to have a lot of highs and a lot of lows in his young career. And he needs to get out of these slumps and ruts himself, right? And no better way to try to snap out of a rut in the way that Brett Baty certainly did today by ripping a bomb that we saw to the right side. But this ball game began in the first inning, everybody, with Tyler Megill towing the rubber here against Mr. Dollander there for the Rockies. And right away, we would see this ball game start there in the first, and we would see Francisco Lindor called out on a strike 3 for the first out of the ball game. Afterwards, WardyNYM then lines out, and then Juan Soto gets on for his first out of 6 times today. First out of 6 times, mind you. Absolutely insane. Gets on there that we see with a 2-out single. Let's see in the chat. Does anyone watching the post game on SNY Gelbs is looking spiffy? No, I didn't actually see how he's looking right now, but I'm sure he is looking spiffy. And Hawkins, great member. Eddie C, great member. Thank you guys chiming in as we're breaking down this Metropolitan dominant series sweep of victory by a final score of 13-5 over the Colorado Rockies in Denver. Alonso would strike out Sweeney, and that does it there for the first, but Soto is the Mets' first runner on base today. In the bottom of the first, everybody, we see a nice 1-2-3 there, and what is the 1-2-3 for Tyler Megill? He strikes out the side. That is the 1-2-3, my friends. He gets a strikeout there on Mr. Jordan Beck, a called strike 3 on Ryan Ritter, and a called strike 3 there on Hunter Goodman because of a swinging strike, rather, and that does it there for a nice 1-2-3 for Tyler Megill. And the second, who kickstarts the inning? It's not Jeff McNeil. It's more like Jeff McBOMBS. McNeil rips his 5th home run this season, a no-doubter there that we saw to right center. That gives the Mets the early 1-0 lead on a 100-mile-per-hour exit velocity. They are from Jeff McNeil, 411 feet there at a 32-degree launch angle, and the Mets are quickly up by 1. So right away, you're feeling good about Jeff McNeil, more like Jeff McBOMBS to begin this ball game. Then Roddy Mauricio, who had himself a home run yesterday, who had himself a double, that would have been a home run in 29 out of the 30 eligible ballparks at Major League Baseball 2 days ago. Ronnie continues to throw at bats, and he rips a single to the right side. Tyrone Taylor gets on with a walk, and the Mets have 2 on after that bomb by McNeil with less than 2 out. Then we see Brett Beatty fly out, and Francisco Alvarez gets the party going even more so on the offensive end by driving in a run himself. Alvy rips one up the middle. That brings in Roddy Mauricio, who would score multiple times as a great base runner today. Shout out to Ronnie. Love what I saw from Mauricio today there that we saw in the DH spot, especially there with his base running. That quickly makes it 2-0, everybody. Again, there were a lot of heavy Francisco Alvarez critics entering this game, entering this series. And while I understand it, and I'm not saying that this game entirely changes all that much for Alvarez, but at the same time, appreciate the goodness that was Alvarez today because there were some encouraging signs, to say the least. Alvarez makes it 2-0 Mets, then back-to-back groundouts there from Lindor and Nimmo does it for the inning. But not before the Mets are now up by a pair as we get to the bottom of the second. And in the bottom of the second, McMahon got on with a 1-out walk. Hilliard then gets on with a walk, and you're saying to yourself, please, Megill, don't have this be an early jam that you get rocked. Thankfully, that isn't the case. He gets a big strikeout there on Orlando Arcia, and then a fly out there on Braxton Fulford, and that does it there for the inning. In the top of the third, Juan Soto kickstarts the party this time with his second hit in the first 3 innings of the ball game, and a throwing error there by Dollander on the pickoff attempt allowed Soto to get from first to second base without a problem. So right away, the Mets have a runner in scoring position, less than 2 out for the polar bear and Pete Alonso. What does Pete Alonso do, everybody? He rips a no-doubter, his 16th home run this season for the polar bear. Get me hyped up, baby. 416 feet at roughly 104 miles per hour on the exit velocity. And just like that, folks, the Mets have themselves a 4-0 lead. And I'm sorry, but you cannot be throwing 89-mile-per-hour cutters with the amount of plate that was eaten up that Dollander tossed the way there to Alonso. The fact that Alonso also had a cutter kind of going down in a way and absolutely ripped it there that we saw to left center, he's just an absolute G. Just hitting tanks without a problem. Alonso's locked in, and that's an understatement right now. The Polar Bears' 16th home run this season, as well as now having 59 RBIs on the year for Pete Alonso. Yeah, in case you guys don't know, Pete Alonso is currently on pace for 40-plus home runs and 150 RBIs. Kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal. All I'm going to say there. Pete Alonso makes it 4-0 Mets, everybody. Then after 1 out, as McNeil would actually strike out on a foul tip, believe it or not, Ronnie Mauricio then gets on with his second single of the ball game. Already, Ronnie is making an impact. Then he steals his second bag of the year, second stolen bag of the series as well. Roddy and Mauricio starting to cook, baby. Roddy's in scoring position for Tyrone Taylor, who quickly drives him in. Taylor with his 8th double this season, then makes it 5-0 New York Mets. And the base stealing doesn't stop there, everybody. After Roddy gets himself a stolen base, cue the Oprah Winfrey comments again. You get a stolen base, because now it's time for Tyrone Taylor to steal his 7th bag of the year. This time he steals third base, so the Mets have a runner at third, less than 2 out. A sac fly, a ground out brings this runner in and gives him a commanding 6-0 lead. Unfortunately, Beatty grounds out and not where he needed to, and Alvarez grounds out not where he needed to, and that does it for the inning, but not before the Mets are now up comfortably 5-0 here against the Colorado Rockies. As you guys can see by the final score, the Rockies still scored 5 runs today, so how did the Mets separate themselves from the rest here? Great question. Let's break it down and see how we got here, right? In the bottom of the third, we would see a 1-2-3 for Tyler Megill, who gets a ground out on Freeman, a fly out on Jordan Beck, and a strikeout on Ryan Ritter. Then that gets us set for the top of the fourth. And in the top of the fourth, who gets on base with 2 outs? Of course, it's Juan Soto with his 3rd hit of the ball game already. Why? Because he's a stud. That's why. Soto gets on with a 2-out single, 2-out clutch hitting for this Mets team. The Polar Bear does the same, and just like that, the Mets have 2 on, 2 out for Jeff McNeil. Jeff, who already ripped a home run earlier in this ball game, what is he going to do this time around? He does it yet again. Jeff McNeil with a no-doubter, this time a towering 3-run shot, 404 feet that we would see by McNeil to the right side at 102 off the bat. McNeil makes it a whopping 8-0 lead for the Mets after getting 97 running inside on the four-seam. Yeah, he's eating that up for breakfast every single day of the week, everybody. And listen, I will be the first to say, if you guys have been following the platform, I have given Jeff McNeil a lot of flack and a lot of slander over the last couple of years. I have viewed him as one of the most inconsistent players for the Mets and viewed him as having such a limited role for this team. Yet time and time again, Jeff McNeil continues to prove the doubters, including myself, wrong. I not only want to correct myself on being wrong at times, but furthermore, I just want to thank Jeff McNeil for being as productive as he's been for this Mets team right now, guys. Like, can we please take a moment to appreciate the greatness that was McNeil today? He not only looked good, guys, he looked fantastic. And as you guys can actually see right here, right now, these are McNeil's numbers today, and the highlights you guys are seeing are the total highlights from today's game, not just McNeil's highlights. If I'm being transparent, it's because I didn't save them for just McNeil's, and I didn't want to have this live show start too later after the game ended already to begin with. So you guys are going to see a highlight of all the key highlights today, including McNeil's not one, but 2 home runs and a double that he would smoke before this ball game ends. Jeff McNeil has himself a 3-for-5 ball game today, 2 home runs, 1 double, 4 RBIs there for Jeff, a 257 average, and a just under 900 OPS on the season. Seriously, who had Jeff McNeil with a north of a 900 OPS on their bingo card at this point in the season? If you did, then honestly, you just spotted in Jeff McNeil what we got in the second half from him last year, leading up to, unfortunately, his injury that kind of derailed things towards the end of the season. But no denying that McNeil was swinging the bat better in the second half last year and was driving in more runs. And now we're seeing Jeff thriving right now, absolutely thriving. And I understand the context, we play the Rockies, but even then, still thriving. McNeil batting today that we saw there. And what was he batting in the 5 spot? Lindor, Nimmo, Soto. Yeah, he was batting 5th today there for Jeff and just had such a great game. So guys, I don't get a chance to really highlight Jeff McNeil too much either as a key standout, but today is most certainly one of those days where we got to give credit where credit's due. Jeff McNeil not only had a great game, he's had a great past week plus of baseball. He's looked really, really good out there, and he deserves endless kudos for it, everybody. So I would love to see some hype and some respect in the chat. Again, I'm not going to be one of those fans either that maybe just because I didn't love a player on a team or their utilization for a while that I don't want them to succeed. That's not true at all. I most certainly want Jeff to succeed as someone who's had nothing but a positive relationship with him, who's been to his charity events in the past there in New York. That's been a lot of fun to take part in. I have nothing but positive things to say about Jeff as a person, and as a player, he most certainly has proven fans, including myself, wrong yet again this season. I hope this can obviously transition and continue, but Jeff, even entering the series, was swinging the bat better in general there with over 800 OPS. So he's doing what we really need of him, and the fact that this was a ball game where McNeil, Mauricio, and Beatty, all key, mostly lefty bats, because Ronnie's going to bat more left side than right side, obviously. 3 key lefty bats that normally play the infield, with the exception of McNeil when he gets his reps in center, all thriving the lineup at the same time. For the longest time, it felt that the only way that this could happen is if the Mets trade away one of McNeil or one of Beatty or Mauricio. But no, not today. The Mets got key contributions from all 3, and it was honestly really, really cool to see. So guys, let me know your thoughts there on Jeff McNeil as he gave the Mets an 8-0 lead that we saw fairly early in this ballgame still. It was just the 4th inning, and Roddy Mauricio got on base for the 3rd time today in the first 4 innings, this time with a walk. Tyrone Taylor would line out, but not before the Mets are up 8-0. And the bottom of the 4th, Tyward Megill has himself a 1-2-3. Some quick groundouts on Goodman and McMahon, and a fly on Antero Estrada does it. In the 5th inning, we would see a 1-2-3 there this time for Mr. Victor Vodnik, who comes in relief there for Juan Mejia, and he gets a groundout on Brett Beatty, a strikeout on Alvarez, and a strikeout on Lindor. Sam Hilliard would greet Tyler Megill rudely that we see in the bottom of the 5th with his 3rd double of the season and 3rd double of the year against the Mets specifically. Braxton Fulford then makes it a 7-run ball game as he would drive in a run himself. 8-1 Rockies deficit. Tyler Freeman then gets on with a walk, and a Jordan Beck 10th double the season later, and just like that, the Rockies are only down now 6 runs. Ryan Ritter then gets on with a hit by pitch, so bases loaded, everybody. everybody. Less than 2 out for Tyler Megill. It could be absolutely batting practice within a snap of a finger, or Megill could get out of this jam unscathed and still keep the Mets well within reach of winning this ball game. Thankfully, the latter is what happened, as we would see a flat on Hunter Goodman and a flat on Taro Estrada, everybody, and that does it there for the bottom of the 5th. In the 6th inning, we would see Juan Soto get on yet again. The 4th time he's on base today in the first 6 innings. This time with a walk, but then Pete Alonso quickly grounds into a double play, and that does it for there. And the bottom of the 6th, Paul Blackburn would come in, and Blackburn would command things for the remainder of the ballgame, everybody. But this was Tyler Megill's final line today, folks. I would love to see your grades and thoughts about it in the comments down below. Tyler Megill goes 5 innings of 82 pitch, 3 hit, 3 walk, 2 earned run ball, 5 strikeouts at 3.76 ERA on the season. When we get into Tyler Megill's arsenal today and what was working versus kind of what wasn't, everybody, it was as follows today, folks. We saw Megill utilize that 5 to 6 pitch mix, as he tends to do brilliantly. But today specifically, what he had most in his arsenal out of all of his pitches was the following, everybody. Let's get this pulled up and let me relay the numbers right here, right now. Megill had actually only 3 of what is otherwise a 4 to 6 pitch mix utilized normally. Tyler Megill only utilized 3 pitches today. It started with the slider that he threw far and away the most at 41%, topping out 85 and sitting 83. The 4-seam fastball at 37%, topped out 97, sat 95. The velo was around the same as it's been all season. And the sinker at 22% of the arsenal, topped out 96 and sat right around 94, guys. Tyler Megill, I really wanted him to go 6 innings today, and today was yet the latest prime example of how Megill wasn't able to give the Mets 6 innings, even against a lesser ball club, mainly because of the fact that, again, he just kind of can't get out of his own way sometimes with those late walks and late hits. He only gave up 3 hits, but the 3 walks is the killer here. So for Tyler Megill, everybody, I'm going to give Megill a solid 6 out of 10 rating today. I'm not going any higher than that, and not too low either. A little bit above average. Megill did what he needed to do today for this Mets team. 2 earned runs across 5 innings is nothing to scoff at whatsoever. But knowing how much more difficult this rotation battle will continue to get with guys like Frankie Montas obviously continuing to ramp up there through his rehab, regardless on his results, he'll be back with the Mets sooner than later. Obviously, Sean Manaea, same applies with him. You have to wonder, what is the future for Tyler Megill and his utilization in the Mets rotation? You guys let me know in the chat, in the comments down below. What do you think is the future of Tyler Megill once Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas are fully back, ramped up, and healthy from their respective injuries? Let me hear it, guys, and thank you kindly for doing exactly that. Aaron Jacobs with the $2 holla. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron states the following: Siri and Wink must be worried about spots later. I don't think they're the only ones that are worried. I think to a certain degree, Vientos falls in that category as well, and I'll expand on that here in a second. I'm just going to blow out my nose real quick, everybody. Give me 1 second. I feel like one of those basic you-know-whats that start their day by cold plunging their face into a thing of ice water with the Saratoga water that I know has been trendy just because it's a blue bottle. I only have this because I like to get bottled water from Whole Foods, and the water that I typically get, they are currently out of, is I usually get the Mountain Valley spring water, but I didn't see any yesterday, so we had to settle with the Saratoga. If you know, you know. One of my thoughts on Pete passing, yeah, we're going to talk about that shortly, Zelda. Just haven't gone there yet because we haven't talked about the 2 home runs for Alonso yet. That's the only reason why I haven't expanded on that. Yeah, regarding Siri and Winker, yeah, their options are limited right now when it comes to their roster spots. No doubt about it. But not only are they limited, but to a degree, Vientos is too. And I feel for Mark, because I know that Mark has not had the start of the year that he otherwise hoped to have his first couple of months in. And on top of it, Vientos' defense isn't as good as Mauricio's, nor is it as good as Beatty's, obviously. And now Mauricio's showing the bat's ball skills. The more that these guys thrive, the more that it becomes a bit more difficult to find an everyday role for Vientos with this Mets team. And I don't say this as someone that wishes it. I'm saying it as someone that's kind of trying to get fans mentally prepared. The Mets have a good problem on their hands right now. And with the guys in Mauricio, Beatty, etc. all thriving, that's going to lead them in a difficult decision to make, but a good difficult decision to make when we evaluate Winker, Siri, and Vientos to those respective degrees. But now, guys, let's get back into breaking down this ball game, because at the time of us talking about Tyler Megill's final line and everything, the boys were still cooking, and they were still up by 6 runs, everybody, as we then get set for the bottom of the 6th, and we would see Paul Blackburn come in. He gives up a single to McMahon right away. Hilliard gets on with a walk. Thankfully, Orlando Arcia is a bum, and he grounds into a double play, and Braxton Fulford strikes out Swading. So Paul Blackburn works out of a little bit of a 2-on, no-out original mess there for a clean 6th inning. Then we would see everybody in the 7th inning. Jeff McNeil rips his 5th double of the season and his 3rd extra base hit of the ball game. McNeil's on an absolute heater right now. He gets on. Ronnie Mauricio strikes out for the first time today. Tyrone Taylor's called out and strikes. And then with 2 outs, who steps up? It's Brett Bonds Beatty. That's who, everybody. Brett Beatty rips his 7th home run this season. A no-doubter, a towering shot to center right field at 107 miles per hour there on the exit velocity, because that's what happens when you get yourself a pitch to hit. And oh, did Brett Beatty turn on a 90-mile-per-hour slider down and in on him, 424 feet, and that gave the Mets at the time a 10-2 lead. Beatty's 7th home run this season. Brett Beatty now again, who had cooled off a decent amount entering this game over his past stretch of games, needed that home run big time and is back up to over 700 on the OPS. We want to see Beatty get closer to being in the 800 category than the 700 category in the OPS, but again, baby steps for a young player that's still trying to get acclimated and still trying to get himself comfortable. Trending great member, happy to have you in here. Alvin, great member. Eric Douglas, great member. All you guys chime in live on a replay. Thank you kindly for the discourse in the chat and the comments down below as we're breaking down the latest series sweep victory for the Mets, this time by a final score of 13-5. And yes, you heard that correctly. As we continue on, the Mets are up 10-2 for Alvarez, who pokes himself his 2nd hit of the ball game. This time not for an RBI. This time it's just to get on base. A 2-out opposite field single to the right side, because if Alvarez doesn't have at least one opposite field hit in the ball game, is Alvarez really hitting? That's really been his MO all season long at this point. Hitting Oppo, hitting them where they ain't. And thankfully, he hit them where they ain't big time towards the end of this ball game. Alvarez was 2nd in the ball game, and Lindor flies out, getting us set for the bottom of the 7th. And the bottom of the 7th, Acuna would come in for Lindor, so Lindor's day would be done. Gives him a couple innings off there. Makes sense with a broken pinky toe. Why push it when you already have this comfortable lead, 10-2? Tyler Freeman then rips a leadoff double, his 5th of the year. A Jordan Beck flyout and Ryan Ritter flyout later sets up Hunter Goodman with 2 outs to drive in a run, this time with an RBI single. Makes it 10-3. Still Mets lead. Taro Estrada would ground out, so Paul Blackburn works around a RBI given up, and the Mets are still up by 7 as we enter the 8th inning. And in the 8th inning, who gets on with a 1-out walk? It's the one and only Juan Soto, on base for the 5th time, if not the 6th time today. And then here's the polar bear, Pete Alonso, with not his first, but his 2nd home run of the ball game, everybody. Another no-doubter by Pete, 372 feet at roughly 95 miles per hour there, and that was on a pitch there that we just saw turn on tremendously. 96 up and in. It wasn't even in the zone. It was a borderline strike on the line in the zone, and Alonso just turned on it without a problem. The Mets not only got their 17th home run of the year from the polar bear, they were then up 12-3 in this ball game, and now Pete Alonso's up, if my memory serves me correct based on the math here, he should be up now to 61 RBIs on the year. 17 home runs, 61 RBIs, and the Mets are just 65 to 70 games in the year. Let me do the math. 40, 50, 60, 64, 65, 66. Pete Alonso has 61 RBIs in 66 games this season. Kind of a big deal if you ask me. JTM, thank you so much for the 10 holla. They state the following. I think we have to remember with Alvy is that the hamate bone injury can sap power for a year plus. That's true. And he sustained one not yesterday, but last season too with that catching hand. Bear that in mind. Remember, he's still the youngest catcher in the league and plays extremely good defense. LFGM, Michael K sucks. Couldn't agree more on all the following. Thank you kindly for the donation, my man. Let's get some hype in the chat for JTM here with a 5 holla. Sharon, who's been a great member here of 8 months and is the long-time cousin of Noel McLean that we like to joke and state. How about those homegrown Mets today? Oh, they were fantastic. The baby Mets came to play today, and they came to slug. Thank you so much for chiming in, sharing, and appreciate you guys hitting that like and subscribe on as we're breaking down this big Metropolitan victory, guys, because let's expand briefly here more on the home run heroics from Mr. Pete Alonso today, because Jeff McNeil did hit his thing, and again, Jeff had a fantastic day at the plate, guys. I can't get over the fact that Jeff McNeil had not one, not two, but 3 extra base hits in one game, and then you mean to tell me that McNeil also has an OPS now just under 900? Yeah, I'm taking that Jeff McNeil over 300 Jeff McNeil in the batting average every day of the week. Give me Jeff McNeil north of a 900 OPS with a 250 average over Jeff McNeil with a 313 average and a 750 OPS every day of the week. That's my opinion. I like Jeff McNeil with power, and I know it's not sustainable, but it's nice to see him taking advantage there in Colorado against those Rockies. Because, guys, as we talk now on Alonso, what did the polar bear do? He did more of the dominant things. Look at that. Pete Alonso, a massive 3-for-6 game. Not one, but two ding-dongs. 4 RBIs, a 301 average, a 990 OPS, 17 home runs on the season, 61 RBIs on the year. What if I told you guys that Pete Alonso not only tied David Wright with 242 home runs for second place there, all time on the Mets home run leaderboard, but after hitting this second home run of the ballgame that we saw, his 17th of the season, that would put him in sole possession, surpassing David Wright's home run accolades there at 243. And the most impressive part of it all, folks, as he said it in the broadcast, and I'll relay it here, Pete Alonso hit 243 home runs 500 games sooner than what David Wright needed for 242 with the New York Mets. I know Wright was not the prototypical slugger. He was just a tremendous multi-tool talent for this Mets team in the hot corner. But still, the fact that David Wright was second on the Mets home run leaderboard with 500 more games than Pete Alonso, and Pete just comfortably passed him. He's only 9 home runs away from Darryl Strawberry at number 1. He's going to get there, and he may get there just in the next month and a half alone if he can keep up this absolutely absurd tear on the home run spree. The same Pete Alonso, who won the longest stretch of his entire career earlier this season that we saw entering the month of May there in the first week or so, of north of 17 games without a home run. Alonso now has torn covers off baseballs ridiculously. He now has 6 home runs over his past 8 games, and Pete Alonso is unbelievably locked in. And yes, you heard that correctly. Pete Alonso has 6 home runs in right around his past 8 games or so. Absolute bulldog is what we're getting right now from the polar bear. You know, Pete Alonso is known for being the polar bear. He's known for being that cold, cuddly polar bear, but no, we got ourselves a dog today. As Tyler Zuber on X would love to call the Mets players, that's what we're going to call Pete today. Guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hyped up are you and how appreciative are you of Pete Alonso having such an outstanding season at this point here, 66 games into the year. I can't believe we're already 66 games into the season. I can't believe that we're already right around just 100 games left on the year, as a matter of fact. That's insane. Absolutely nuts. As we continue on from here, everybody, the Mets put on a commanding 12-3 lead. From there, Jeff McNeil would strike out Sweeney, and Ronnie Mauricio gets on base again, because of course he does. Ronnie on base again, the 4th time he's on base today with a walk. This time, Tyron Taylor flies out, but not before the Mets take a 9-run lead. D-Mac with a 5 holla. Thank you, D-Mac. Love you, my friend. D-Mac states the following: Mets 18 games over 500. They peaked at 18 games over 500 last year in September 2022. No, September 22nd. I mean, yeah. Holy shit, D-Mac. I'm actually so glad you said that. That's such a great stat that I'm going to relay more in the future. Why I love that so much, D-Mac, is that, yes, I understand that last year was night and day versus this season. The Mets had to claw their way back after being 11 games below 500, but really, really impressive to see the fact that the Mets have already tied the season high wins above average last year there at 18. Like, are you kidding me? Above 500, I should say. One more win. If the Mets take game 1 in 2 days against the Nationals, that'll be the most games above 500 that they have been in a hot minute. Absolutely insane. Ryan McMahon with his 10th double of the year, though, kickstarted the bottom of the 8th inning. Everybody, mind you, Paul Blackburn was staying in this ballgame until the better end. That's what was going to happen after this ginormous lead. Why waste the bullpen? Just have Blackburn eat those innings the way that he knows he needs to. McMahon rips his 10th double of the year, and then that's all she wrote. Thankfully, it's a nice, clean inning of work otherwise for Paul Blackburn. Getting us set for the 9th inning. In the 9th inning, everybody, who hits who hits a one-out dead center bomb, his second home run this season. It is El Troll, and it is Francisco effing Alvarez. A no-doubter to center, and guys, when I tell you this baseball was pissed on, it was dismantled. Alvarez, who has the dad power kicked in. For those that don't know, Alvarez is awaiting the birth of his newborn child. Congratulations in advance to Alvarez, his wifey, and his entire family. Great news, especially from one newer dad to another. I appreciate that a lot. But Alvy gets a no-doubter. First pitch cutter right down the pipe. 94 middle, 110 miles per hour, 450 feet dead center. The most impressive hit we've seen from Alvarez yet this year. Finally hitting for power. That isn't a line drive home run the way that he had. And the Mets 2-0 victory in game 2 of the 4-game set against the Nationals in DC, where the Mets split that series around a month ago or so. So hopefully the Mets can bounce back from that previous series split and actually take at minimum 2 out of 3 against the Nationals 2 days from now, everybody. But no less, Alvarez, absolutely tremendous there with the home run accolades. And that was the final nail in the coffin for the Mets. 13-3 was the lead. WardyNYM with a 2-out walk and a 2-out single, and then Juan Soto with his 3rd walk of the ball game, 6th time on base. What a dog. Alonso struck out on foul tip. He just had a silly swing on a fastball way upstairs, but that's okay. Tyler Freeman ripped his first triple of the year. Jordan Beck ripped his 11th double of the year, which made it 13-4. Then it became 13-5 after Ryan Ritter ripped a single there in the bottom of the 9th, but that's all she wrote eventually. Ryan McMahon went ground at everybody, and that does it for the victory. The Mets go on to sweep the Colorado Rockies, and not just there in Colorado by a final score of 13-5, but the Mets have series swept the Rockies on the season. They are 6-0 on the sorry Colorado Rockies, and the Mets are taking advantage of the lesser teams exactly like that they are supposed to, as one of the best teams, if not the best team in all the National League. And speaking of the standings, everybody, as we take a look at the standings currently, the New York Mets are atop the leaderboard there out of the National League East. Out of the Central, we have the Chicago Cubs and the LA Angels there. Not LA Angels. I can't believe I actually just said that. That's hilarious. The LA Dodgers there for the NL West. The Angels wish they're ever going to lead somewhere. The Padres are currently first with a half game up in the wild card at 37-27. Mind you, the Padres are 10 games above 500, while the Mets are 18 games above 500. The Giants are 10 games above 500, half game up there in the wild card. And the Phillies, after dropping 9 of their last 10, are just 9 games above 500 and are in sole possession of that 3rd wild card spot. The St. Louis Cardinals, who walked off the Dodgers yesterday thanks to Nolan Arenado, are 1 game behind in the wild card. The Milwaukee Brewers are 2.5 games behind there with Mr. Jose Quintana. At 33-33 is the Cincinnati Reds smack dab at 500 at 4.5 out, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, now with Corbin Burnes on the shelf for the remainder of the year, it gets from bad to worse there from Arizona, but there's a lot of baseball to be had still. 31-34, 6 games out of that final wildcard spot, and that is the current National League standings, everybody. Now, as we take a look on the hitting end for the Mets, and I apologize, that was Alonso from earlier, let's take a look at the hitting. This is how the ball game ended for the Mets. As I mentioned, everybody, they had a lot of things cooking on the offensive end. Almost too many things cooking, you could argue, and obviously, it's never a bad thing to have too many things working right on the offensive end, right? Thank you guys so much again for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in. Help us get to 200 plus likes by the end of the live show to roughly 500 viewers. That'd be greatly appreciated. If we could get a 300 likes, that'd have me go bananas, but I'm not going to ask for too much. Just thank you kindly for that. Also, help us get a 34,000 subscribers. We're just a couple hundred subs away, and we give away a new Mets jersey after every 1,000 subscriber milestone on the platform. And we just gave away a WardyNYM jersey to our guy Yoshima, who's a great member of the platform, for randomly being selected just a couple weeks ago once we hit 33,000. So thank you guys for all that. Eric Douglas with the $279 donation. Balanced schedules means there's no excuses. Absolutely. Thank you for the donation. Now, the Mets kind of did have a balanced schedule to a degree the past couple weeks, in the sense that they had the worst teams to play and the best team to play, right? They played the Dodgers in 2 series over the past 2 weeks. Then they played the Rockies 2 series in the past 2 weeks, and the White Sox as well. So it's either the worst or the best, no in between, but that's fine. I just wish the Mets at least took 3 out of 4 in LA, because they just beat themselves. Every game they lost, they beat themselves. Not for a second did I think the Dodgers were the better team in that 4-game set. And that's saying a lot. And I'm putting all my bias aside as I say that too. They just were clearly the better team that shot themselves in the foot. Dan, you're never gonna win one randomly at this rate with the way that you're yapping, my guy. I'm just telling you right now. Easiest way to get on Wardy's shit list is to be chiming into the giveaways and then acting like they're fixed. It's not gonna bode well, brother. But let's get into breaking down this Mets lineup now, because as you see, Lindor went 0 for in this one, still with a 283 average and an 842 OPS. Luis Angel Acuna with a 243 average, a 580 OPS. Brandon Nimmo 1 for 6, and exactly, you know what I'm talking about. Nimmo 1 for 6 in this one, 230 average, 708 OPS. Juan Soto 3 for 3, on base 6 times, 244 average, 820 OPS there for the one and only. Polar Bear Pete 3 for 6, 4 RBIs, 2 ding-dongs, 301 average and 990 OPS. Jeff McNeil 3 for 5, 2 ding-dongs, 4 RBIs and a double, 357 average, 888 OPS. Ronnie Mauricio at DH today was a stud, 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored there and a pair of walks. 263 average, 807 OPS. Love to see that. Tyron Taylor 1 for 4 with an RBI and a walk, 233 average, 629 OPS. Brett Baty 1 for 5 with a run scored and 2 RBIs, 229 average, 704 OPS with the bomb he had. Alvarez with a solo shot, the RBI and the opposite field single, 3 for 5 game for him. 2 RBIs, 255 average, 676 OPS. Now, guys, let's talk about the hardest hitters for the Mets today, because the Mets did have some hard hitters for sure out of their lineup. But I want to take a look at, in particular, the guys that really were smoking baseballs. And I know Ronnie Mauricio was in this one. So if we take a look at the hardest hitters today, folks, Ronnie Mauricio's single was at 101 miles per hour today. The hardest hit overall came from Alonso's 110 mile per hour single that we saw off of Juan Mejia. Francisco Alvarez was at a 109 on the home run to dead center. Soto's single was at 108 there that we saw off Mejia. Mejia gave up some hard-ass contact. Brett Baty's home run was 107. Alonso's home run was 104. The other home run was 103. Soto with a single at 102. So, yeah, a lot of hard-hit baseballs today for sure there in Denver, Colorado. So that's what you got on the offensive. And I agree. I wholeheartedly agree that he's a true 5-tool talent. We just have to see what is the max potential with a guy like Ronnie Mauricio. Mets fans, stop acting like overreacting about Vientos. Mark carried the team last season and had major hits. I 100% agree, and I do think that Vientos will be fine. But there's one thing that does not benefit Vientos right now, is mostly the fact that there are guys thriving in his position that are better defenders than him and are providing as much offense as you could kind of ask for at the moment. The problem with Mark has less to do about this slump to begin the year, as it is more so just the timing of the way everything has unraveled for him. Between not hitting consistently, being the worst defensive third baseman in the National League statistically, and now going down with injury, it's a perfect storm for Vientos to have to go back out and prove his worth. And I hope that knowing that Vientos has these guys around him as healthy competition, that it further sparks that fire under his ass once he returns to this Mets team and can get back to raking the way that we most certainly know he can. Vientos can be an absolute dog. He can be a demon. Mark Vientos was one of the most impactful batters for the Mets last year, with the exception of Francisco Lindor and Jose Iglesias. It was Lindor, Vientos, Iglesias as the first 3 guys you think of. It wasn't Alonso. It most certainly wasn't Alonso. Even with Alonso still having a respectable season when looking at the final line of his numbers. I really like the construction in today's lineup, says DBL. Also, I suggested moving Soto out of the 2-hole, and you thought I was nuts, and it worked out. I did think you were nuts, and the reason why I thought you were nuts had mostly to do with the fact that I just didn't see a world where Carlos Mendoza was actually going to go the lengths to take him out of the 2 spot. If you guys followed along with the content like consistently, I've said on a daily basis leading up to that Game 2 against the Red Sox, where the Mets just were horrendous with runners in scoring position again, had no hits there. That's what finally warranted the lineup shakeup for the series finale of that matchup in Boston. I said that until I see Mendy actually go out of his way to put someone like Soto in a 3 or 4 spot, I'm not going to believe it, just because I need to see it to believe it. And it finally became a reality, and I'm not complaining. They're thriving. They're looking good. I just wish Alonso had an opportunity to have a guaranteed first inning at bat. That's the only critique I have with this entire format, but I know Alonso is very comfortable and very familiar with batting the 4 spot. That's what he's done most of his career, so it's not shocking to see him thrive there, nor is it shocking to see Soto now get in more of a groove there, not being as top of the order. And Nimmo, who's been pretty solid in the 2-hole with the exception of today's game there, don't really have too much to complain about on that front. Going to the pitching end, everybody. Another day where the Mets have pretty darn solid pitching. Mind you, they gave up 5 earned runs today, but still, 5 earned runs, 10 hits allowed, 4 walks, and had 8 strikeouts. Not the sharpest day for the Mets there, pitching-wise, but certainly not the worst either, especially when you're bearing in mind the context and being there in Denver against these Rockies. So that is what you got on the pitching end as well as the offensive end, everybody. So if you guys have any closing remarks on that one, please let me know in the chat, and thank you kindly for doing exactly that. Because, folks, we're going to continue on with the live show still for another 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, but we're going to cut off the live show now to all of our replay viewers, because replay viewers typically like our post-game shows under an hour when we do these things. Let's see this, and give me one sec, everybody. David Wright. Oh, guys, this is pretty sick. Let me actually pull up and show you guys this really quick. David Wright just sent out a message to Pete Alonso on surpassing him on the Mets home run leaderboard. Let's watch this together, Mets fans. This should be pretty cool. And then I'll cut things off for people on replay. That's what we'll do.
Pete, what's going on, my man? David Wright, just a huge congratulations. You are one of the premier power hitters in the game. You easily passed me, set straw on your sights, and now go get him. Congratulations, my man.
I don't know where Wright is when he did this recording. Maybe he did this a while ago at Citi Field or something, but really, really cool backdrop wherever he is. Yeah, that is Citi Field, because I'm seeing some like Mets neon layouts. My honest guess is that this is one of the cooler suites at Citi Field. Maybe this is the hangout, the family room at Citi Field. I could be completely wrong, but either way, love to hear the captain talk about greatness, which has been Pete Alonso this season. Passing the torch from one man to the other there that we saw is absolutely fantastic. So again, Mets fans, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below on this huge series sweep against the Colorado Rockies in Colorado. This time by a final score of 13-5, and be on the lookout, folks, as we have a big video dropping tomorrow. Perfect time with the Mets off day to drop some new Mets content for you guys, and you are not going to want to miss this one. Tomorrow will not be our typical Big Mets updates video, barring drastic changes should we find out any news for whatever reason, which again, I'm not predicting. I'm just saying if anything drastically happened, then that would change it. Otherwise, be on the lookout. Big video dropping tomorrow. Then the following day, we will have an updates video dropping for you guys in the AM, getting you set there, series preview, many other things there for the National Series beginning this Tuesday. But tomorrow, be on the lookout, big video. All of our replay viewers, this is where we're cutting things off now. But everyone watching live, this is where we're going to continue on with the live show. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.